So if I go with this ayah before those other ayat were revealed, I am free and I murder you according to this ayah. You're a woman. Can I be put to death?
Okay, and last question, since we're talking about slavery, I think you know what verse I'm gonna bring up.
Well, I don't know if you want to talk about slavery because it's going to hurt the Quran. But go ahead.
No, not exactly.
We'll
So Exodus. Okay, we'll see.
yeah, Exodus is
Exodus.
going to back for. I know it's going to back for sister. Stuck for Allah. It's not going to help your case.
No,
Exodus 21:7-11.
actually, no, 2021.
Okay, let's go here. I know what you're talking about, but let's bring it up. Because you actually misquote this as well. I know what you're doing. I know this, but because I did a session. If a man strikes, I know, right here, sister. But I'm going to turn it against you. Chapter 2 of the Quran, 178. Because this is what happens when you don't read in context, sister. You stopped at 21. Let me give it all for you, okay? You ready?
Okay.
I know what you're talking about. Sister, believe me, I'm not as stupid as I look.
No, you don't look stupid. So listen, I just basically made a list of the verses that everyone keeps bringing up on TikTok, and then, yeah.
Okay, watch here, in front of your eyes. Let's read the context. They stop at 21, right? Okay. If a man strikes his male servant or his female servant with a staff, so that he or she dies as a result of the blow, he will surely be punished. Now notice, it's not saying you can strike them. There's nothing in the Old Testament that you can strike your slave. It's saying if someone does it, because in real life, there are people lose their testimony and then they react in sin. However, okay, now he's to be punished, right? However, if the injured servant survives 1 or 2 days, the owner will not be punished for he has suffered the loss. Okay, but let's finish it. Let me finish and I'm going to prove to you this applies to the slave. If men fight and hit a pregnant woman, and her child is born prematurely, but there is no serious injury, the one who hit her will surely be punished in accordance with what the woman's husband demands of him, and he'll pay what the court decides. But if there's serious injury, watch here, then you will give a life for a life. This is the principle. Now I'm going to show you this applies to the slave. Life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, bruise for bruise. If a man strikes the eye of his male servant or his female servant, so it destroys it, he will let the servant go free as compensation for the eye. If he knocks out the tooth of his male servant, his female servant, he will let the servant go free as compensation for the tooth. So right there, they are free automatically. But now you see this law right here? It says eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. You see it here? You see it, right?
Yeah.
Let me show you it applies to the slave. You ready?
Okay.
Leviticus 24:17-22. If a man beats any person to death, he must be put to death. Any person. Let's see. One who beats an animal to death must make restitution for it, life for life. If a man inflicts an injury on his fellow citizen, just as he's done, it must be done to him. Fracture for fracture, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, just as he inflicts injury on another person. There is no restriction. If it's another human being, whether free or slave, injury must be inflicted on him. One who beats an animal to death must make restitution for it, but one who beats a person to death must be put to death. No exception. If it's a human being, whether he's a foreigner or he's a slave, a human being, you injure him, you get injured. You put him to death, you are to die. There'll be one regulation for you, whether a resident, foreigner, or native citizen, for I am the Lord your God. So why didn't they read the whole thing? This applies to any human person, whether free or slave, or even if a non-Israelite lives in Israel, he's not a Jew. If you harm him, you will suffer the same harm. Same law. And that's why here, in the context of how you treat slaves, right before and after, you're told life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. So not only if I injure a free man, if I injure a slave, I will suffer that injury, and then he is to be let go. Okay. Now let me show you your Quran, because now let's see. Look at the problem I have with the Quran. Let me show you now. You ready? Because we mentioned this, right?
Yeah. I have my Quran, which verse?
Okay, but no, look at your Quran, what it says. You see the difference, right? I just showed you. Any human person, whether free or slave, If you inflict injury, you suffer the same injury. In the case of a slave, he's also to go free. But watch your Quran, 2178. Look at the law of your Quran. You ready? O you who believe, the law of equality is prescribed to you in cases of murder. The free for the free, the slave for the slave, the woman for the woman. How the hell does this make sense? And how is this just? In murder, if I murder a slave and I'm free, then I don't get killed because you only put a slave to death for the murder of a slave. And you only put a woman to death for the murder of a woman. You do not kill a free man if he killed a slave. And you don't kill a free man if he killed a woman. It says free for free, slave for slave, woman for woman. You're telling me this is just? It's your Quran that you should have a problem with, not my Bible, which your prophet believed. So I'm a free man, you're a woman. According to this ayah, be honest with me. If I kill you, a woman, can you put me to death?
No, but this is not the only ayah that is talking about. Okay. This is not the only ayah that is talking about qasas.
Oh, so then you're talking about your Quran contradicts itself. Good job.
I did not say that.
Okay, hold on. If you're telling me there's another ayah that says something differently, then how can another ayah contradict? The free is to be put to death for the murder of the free. The woman is to be put to death for the murder of the woman. And the slave put to death for the murder of a slave. And another ayah tells me differently. That's a contradiction. That's why you came up with nasikh wa mansukh, abrogating and abrogated. So if I go with this ayah before those other ayat were revealed, I am free and I murder you. According to this ayah, you're a woman. Can I be put to death?
Yes.
No. Free for free. Woman for woman. Slave for slave. I'm a man. I murder a woman. It didn't say man for woman.
Like.
Yeah, you got to deal with this. So what did your scholars do? The ulama? Oh, nasikh wa mansukh. This ayah was abrogated. So wait, Allah didn't get it right the first time? Because this verse, if you read it, oh, I'm a man, I killed a woman. Sorry, you can't kill me. You may kill one of my women, but you can't kill me. Oh, I'm a free man, I killed a slave. Sorry, you can't kill me because I'm not a slave. You may kill my slave, but you can't kill me. Oops. And then an ayah comes and says, no, 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 no. We cancel this. So what you're saying is your God, Allah, changed his mind, or he realized, this ayah, not as clear. Let me now abrogate it. Nasikh wa mansukh. So if I had this ayah and I go with this ayah, where's the justice of this? So you are a woman and you kill a slave. According to this ayah, can you be put to death?
Because I did study like ahkam al-qasas and so on.
Yes,
so
good. Ahkam, where you had to go to scholars to help explain the contradiction in the Quran, because if you just went with the ayah, it makes no sense. I know this. I know your sharia, your ahkam, and how Surah Al-Ma'idah 545 abrogates 2178 or Surah Al-Nahl 16:120. I know this, sister. But you're only convincing us that Allah had to correct himself and change his mind because he kept making mistakes. So now you need the ulama to help you with your Quran. We know this. You're not telling me something I don't know. I know what ayat you're talking about. Surah Al-Ma'idah 545. But you know where that comes from? That comes from the Torah, the Old Testament, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Showing you my Old Testament is better than your Quran because it's quoting my Old Testament. I know what the scholars say. They say that this ayah given to Bani Israel, Yahud, we ordained therein, the Torah, life for life, eye for an eye, nose for nose, ear for ear. That's quoting my Bible. So your Quran needed my Bible to be just. But if I went with Muhammad, this is the justice of Muhammad. Free for free, slave for slave, woman for woman. My Bible, which is what this ayah is quoting, it's quoting the Bible, the Torah, the Kitab given to Bani Israel. Look how just my Bible is. Your Quran needs it, and it quotes it. Didn't we just read in Exodus 22, 21, 22, 25? Eye for an eye, tooth for tooth. Leviticus 24, 17, 22. Here, let me show you. Where is this coming from, this ayah? It didn't come from your Quran. It came from the Torah given to Yahud, the Jews. It's quoting my Bible. So your Quran needs my Bible to be just. Here's what it's quoting, in case you missed it, right here. But if there's any serious injury, then you'll give a life for a life, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, bruise for bruise. That's the Torah, written 20 years before Muhammad. Exodus 21, 22, 25. Here, again, if a man inflicts an injury on his fellow citizen, just as he's done it, it must be done to him. Fracture for fracture, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. And what does the Quran quote? It quotes life for life, eye for eye, nose for nose, but it's quoting it in the context of the Yahud, the Jews, coming to Muhammad for judgment. He goes, no, go to your book. Your book, it has guidance and light. It has just commands like life for life, eye for an eye. That didn't come from Muhammad. This is what came from Muhammad. O you who believe, the law of equality is prescribed to you in cases of murder. Free for free, slave for slave, woman for woman. I'll give you $1 million and I'll take a shot if you can show me this in the Bible. This is from the Bible, perfectly just. This is from your prophet and Allah, perfectly unjust. So I'm asking you, if I was living at this time when this ayah was given by your prophet, because Surah Al-Ma'idah came later, and you murdered a slave, you're a woman, according to this ayah, can you be put to death?
So I think the scholars, I'm pretty sure the scholars say yes, like يقتل الحر
Good.
بالعبد
You need the
والعبد
scholars,
بالحر.
right? Sister, you didn't hear. I know your scholars bail out the Quran and help Allah and His Messenger. I know the scholars. I just told you, I know what the scholars are going to appeal to. Surah Al-Ma'idah, 545. Surah Al-Nahl, 16, verse 126. But that's not what I asked you. If I was living at the time this ayah came down before the other ayahs, and you, a woman, killed a slave, according to this command, can you be put to death?
So
Yeah, okay. We know the answer because you don't want to
no,
answer because you know the truth. You, I understand.
no. So because I just looked it up. So so the school of Hanafi, the school
Oh,
of
wait. I
Hanafi.
want everyone to hear it. Did you go see who she went to? Abu Hanifa. Now, is
Yeah,
Abu
he's
Hanifa Muhammad? Well, I'm just asking. Is he Muhammad?
no, he's not Muhammad.
Was he there when this ayah came down before Surah Al-Ma'idah?
No, 100% he wasn't there.
Well, what you're telling me, which you didn't listen, that's what I'm saying. Listen to me. I know you're going to go to Shafi, or you're going to go to Malik, right? Or you're going to go to Ahmad ibn Hanbal or Abu Hanifa. I know they come later. And they have to then take all of the Quran and make sense out of this mess. I know. That's not what I asked you. If Abu Hanifa was living there, when this ayah came down, not this, and he was at the time your prophet, not telling me after the Quran has been collected by Uthman and all the ayat are there, now they have to read all the ayat to make sense. 2178 contradicts 545 and contradicts 16126. Oh, that means this came earlier and it was mansukh, it was abrogated. I know what your scholars say. Let me repeat my question one more time. If you're living at the time of your prophet, there is no Abu Hanifa, there is no Ahmad ibn Hanbal, there is no Shafi, there is no Malik ibn Anas, Malik's Muwatta, none of that. And it was just this ayah. And you didn't have Surah Al-Ma'idah yet. That came later. You didn't have that yet. And you, a woman, killed a slave. According to this, can you be put to death?
Well, likely no.
Say it again.
Likely no.
Good. Now, if a slave put you to death, a woman, could he be put to death?
according to the ayah, or like I have to think about it.
Here, ayah, here, this one. Slave for slave.
I
So
think
if
it
the
says
slave puts you to death, a woman, can he be put to death according to the ayah?
no.
If a free man, me, put you, a woman, to death, can I be put to death? Pay attention.
So
Woman for woman. I know I may look like a woman, but I'm a man. And if I murder you, according to this ayah, can I be put to death?
no.
That's it. So then, guess what happens? Guess what your Quran did? It went to my Bible to give you true justice. Notice now what ayah came: life for life, eye for eye, nose for nose, ear for ear, tooth for tooth, and wounds equal for equal. Now, where did this come from originally?
Yeah, from the
The
verse you
Bible,
just
right?
showed me earlier. Yeah.
Why is it that Moses' law, 2,200 years before Muhammad, is more just and fair than Muhammad's Sharia? And your prophet needs my Bible to be just.
But again, so for example, the stoning, like us Muslims, we do know that like we do take the previous laws.
Yeah, okay, but I'm not asking the stoning part. When you have a theocracy and God is appearing to Israel in prophets and miracles to show, as harsh as those commands are, there's a basis for it because God left them no excuse to deny his existence. That's another. What I'm saying is, here, this was the original law of retaliation, lax talionis, for murder, which is very unjust. So why didn't Muhammad straight away go with this? Why does he come up with this that is unfair and unjust, and then later appeals to the kitab of the Jews and Christians, life for life, eye for an eye, showing how justice is, and Muhammad saw how justice is. So he appeals to this later on, which is superior to what he gave earlier. So how is it that the Old Testament, New Testament are way better than the Quran if the Quran is supposed to be better and superior? So what I want to leave you with, you can tag me Skype, you have more questions. Number one, the very problems Muslims have with the Old Testament, it's in Islam. It is Islam that says you can take married women captive, rape them, and sell them, not the Bible. It is Islam that says here that if a slave is put to death by a woman or a man, you can't kill the woman or a man. So then what did Islam need? It needed my Bible to say, no, 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 no. It doesn't matter, life for life. So if I kill a slave, that's still a life, I'm to be put to death. But that came from the Bible, which we just read. So the problems you have is in Islam, not in my Bible.